Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal RusHour. I'm your host, Ryan Rush, and I'm back doing the show. I took a little while off from it because a lot of things like I don't know, man, there were things getting on my nerves like about the editing and stuff. I was having difficulties with that, and I didn't want to it was becoming more than I wanted to mess with what I was doing. So that's the best way I can put it, I guess. Anyway, I had episodes recorded, and things I had to do to them. It was just like way more than it was worth doing. So I just chunked them, and now I'm starting over. But when I chunked those episodes, I kind of just neglected what I was doing. And I've realized, now I really enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. And I have a lot to say. And so I know there's a few people that listen. And, I was really surprised because there was a lot of you guys during the time that I took off from this. There was a whole lot of people actually. When I say a whole lot, I mean like, five, seven, maybe. But that's a good bit, in my opinion, actually, that were, had told me, they really missed me uploading, and they wanted, to see more shows. And, so it kind of made me realize that, some of you guys really were enjoying it a lot more than I thought, I guess, you know. So I want to, keep on with that, I guess. I guess is what I'm saying. I don't know. Pretty soon, though, I'm going to go through with the things I wanted to do at one point, like the phone line and stuff. I'm gonna start doing that, doing phone interviews. I know for sure I'm gonna do those, and I think that'll be interesting too. I think it'll be a cool thing to do. I don't know. Anyway, I want to talk to you guys tonight about friggin' Area 51, man. This place is like happening right now. People are wanting to storm it. I guess there was that big thing on Facebook, like storm Area 51, bam, we're going to storm Area 51. And there's like 1 million people signed up to do it. So I don't know how many of them are actually going to show up, but I mean, if they get a fraction of that, that's going to be a lot of people. And they're, if they storm Area 51, they're probably going to be successful in it. I don't know. But I think that they could do it, and I don't recommend they do if they could. It's probably not advisable for anyone to do that, but I mean, especially for a mass group of people. I mean, that place of all places, okay, is going to have like the craziest stuff in the ground ready to just pop up and zap you like you weren't ever here or something, like you like fall into a mound of ash or something on the ground, just disintegrate like in cartoons. I mean, for real, they probably have something like that is capable of stopping you in a manner that makes it to where you just weren't ever here on Earth, like nothing to trace you back from. So, yeah, I mean, don't do it. Like, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't even think Area 51's a place to go, honestly. Like, if you're wanting to see them aliens, like, you should probably go to Area S4, which is where Bob Lazar said he worked. And we'll get into a little bit about Bob Lazar because, he's like really the reason that everyone knows about it. I mean, he brought it to light, into the public eye pretty much back in the day in the 80s and early 90s, whatever. Uh, he was really the one who did that. So, I mean, it's really crazy though listening to his story because he's so far been like extremely credible, and there's reasons for that. But we'll get into that. I don't know. Anyway, Area S4 though is where he worked, and there was like, I think he said like 9 UFOs they had back then, like back in the 80s. So there's no telling what they've got there now. And I guess that would be the place to go. Like if that's even the place to go. We'll get into that too because I have some theories of my own about that I'm not totally sure about, of course. There's no way to be, but there's some things that make sense in my opinion. And I try to, not get too conspiracist on this program. I don't want to be like a, conspiracy, you know, podcast or anything like that. I want to keep it paranormal. No, the thing is like sometimes conspiracy though does make a lot of sense. So sometimes, it's worth talking about a little bit, discussing. But this really isn't even that much of a conspiracy kind of thing. So, we'll see. But anyway, Groom Lake, that's the place where Area 51 is. They've actually got those secret runways or whatever, you can see on like aerial images, satellite imagery of, Area 51. You can go right to it and you can see the runways like they've got going through Groom Lake. And I mean, they're right there, big old long runways. But, you can see everything too, actually. If you want to see Area 51, I mean, you can just go to like the satellite image and go right to it. And you can see, I mean, you can even see there's like the F-16s. They've got like 4 or 5 F-16s parked there. They've got they've got Black Hawk, black, unmarked looking Black Hawks, helicopters sitting there. I mean, you can see all this stuff. You can see the Janet planes, and we'll get into that too. I'll explain what all that is here in a second. We'll go through a little bit of what Area 51 is. I know that not everyone knows a whole lot about it. Everyone's familiar with it, of course, but not everyone knows a lot about the ins and outs of what they say about it. What we've heard about it, I guess. Anyway, I think it's one of many, though, honestly. I don't even know that it is one of them, but there are many of these types of bases around. I know that. Anyway, well, um, Area 51, Homey Air Force Base, is the actual name of it. I'm pretty sure that's like the official name. I don't know. I can't remember, but anyway, Homey Air Force Base I know is one of the names of it, and that place. Okay, it's a big Air Force base, and it's a live fire military base. And I know they have admitted, they did like SR-71 tests and stuff like that, out there, and tested stealths and things like that. The bombers and whatnot. Odd aircrafts. I'm sure all those got tested out there. But and that was still, I think, a little bit of a cover for a lot of other tests that they did. But we know they did more than just that out there, for sure. I mean, we all know that for sure because, well, I mean, not for sure because we weren't there, but it's come out, too many times to not be credible, in my opinion. But anyway, now over there at Homey Air Force Base, the let's see, where was I? Yeah, Groom Lake is like basically just a salt flat, so those runways are easily, those are huge too. There's plenty of space for whatever you want to land out there. But then you see the Janet flights on the imagery, and you can see the regular runways that they have. Also, the ones that aren't so secretive. But the secretive ones are weird because they are the same color as like the salt flat on the dried up Groom Lake. It's really strange. But anyhow, Um, Area 51 though, like, okay, it's basically what happens is the people who work there, okay, the employees, they don't drive to work and they don't like just go in daily. They go in and they stay for a week or two or something like that, or maybe a month, however long. And they stay there and then they come home after, like, that long. And they're off for, so long, and then they repeat that cycle. Well, this all came from Bob Lazar's here. This is basically what he said about all of it. All right. So, and it's mostly been proven to be true. um, Anyhow, the employees are transported. Usually they get a call and say, like, be at McCarran Airport at, 7:45. They had like an hour, 50 minutes or so to get ready and be there. And so they'd get on the Janet flights. The Janet flights are like Boeing 737s or something. And they are jets that are not marked. They're just like white with red stripes. That's what I saw the last time I saw them. Anyway, pictures of them. But Janet is an acronym, stands for just another non-existent terminal. JANET. And those airplanes take off from McCarran Airport in Las Vegas. And they fly the employees out to Area 51, where they then go to work. There's also buses that transport employees, but I'm not sure that they transport the same type of employees. You see what I mean? I think there might be a distinction there because everything's very highly compartmentalized from what I understand, and nobody really fraternizes with anyone else. So, other than the guy you directly work with. So that's what I've gathered from what I've heard. Um, so anyway, that's kind of how it is. And they do that, and then which is what got Bob Lazar in trouble to begin with. Bob Lazar, okay, he was a physicist or something like that, who, he like went to MIT, and he was a very smart guy. He was recruited to work there at Area 51. He worked at Los Alamos prior to that. And anyhow, Bob Lazar, uh, he worked at Area S4, which was where they had the UFOs. And he was put on this project, which was basically reverse engineering a gravity and a gravity reactor, like something that produced its own gravity or something like that. It was crazy sounding, and technology is far beyond anything that we could do, obviously. So anyhow, he worked on that, and he claimed that he went in the UFO that it came out of, and he described, going into it and everything, and I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But anyway, what messed him up was actually this crazy schedule they have, because his wife assumed that he was having an affair or something like that because of his insane work schedule, and of course he had to maintain a level of secrecy, so he couldn't just like explain to her where he was going, like, hey babe, I'll work on UFOs. They didn't want him to do that. So anyway, what got him in trouble was basically his paranoia. He went and spilled the beans to his buddies, okay, and Bob had the flight plan. Well, I wouldn't say flight plans, flight schedule of he had the flight schedule of the UFO advanced maneuvers testing. So, loud vehicle sounds like. Anyhow, so he had the schedule of the advanced maneuvers testing, and they would like he and his buddies, like he ended up spilling the beans to his buddies about everything, I guess it was. And so uh, what had happened was he started getting paranoid because he was being followed. They were like, they had him, freaked out because, of course, they had his phone bugged and all that stuff to begin with. And that's how they found out about his wife actually thinking he was having an affair, which caused her to start having an affair. So they found out before Bob ever knew that his wife was having an affair. They found out about it, and they stopped calling him into work and stuff to see how it kind of played out, you know, because they're just way too careful about that stuff, basically. So, anyhow, that's what messed Bob up, was the whole thing about them uh, waiting to see how it played out. Like they followed him, and he knew it, and it was, freaking him out because he thought, well, maybe, I'm in danger or something, because they haven't called me in to worry, blah, blah, blah. He was getting all freaked out about it. So Bob told his buddies about everything and told them, I've got this flight schedule for this UFO test flight. If, we'll go watch it here on this day, and blah, blah, blah. They went, saw the UFO, and his friends were just like, what? It was confirmed to them that he was not full of shit, basically. And so he was like, well, this UFO is like flying around doing all this crazy shit, and Bob's buddies are like, this is just amazing. So they have video of it. I think you can probably search and find it. Still, I'm sure it's all over the internet. I hadn't even looked lately to see where you can find it, but anyway, it's crazy though because he was caught because of that, because of the test flight schedule. Uh, but he and his buddies, like he said, they started kind of making a thing of it, like going up there on Friday night, kind of thing. Like they were pulling the camper up there and getting the barbecue grill out, and watching the UFO do its test flight. So, they were kind of having their Friday nights up there. And that's what got them caught. He said, they were just being stupid, in their 20s, kids, basically. Kids that knew some stuff. It's crazy, though. I don't know. Bob, though, he seems like a character. And he's smart. You can tell the guy is very smart. The thing that makes him credible, though, is that he was talking about things back 30 years ago that have now come out to be true. Like they've turned out to be true. The things that he was talking about, back in the early 90s, late 80s, whatever. He said, this stuff existed back then, and now it's been proven that it did exist, and it does exist. Like element 115, I believe he claimed that is what the reactor that he was uh, that he worked on. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word assigned to work on. But anyway, that reactor is what it ran off of. So like, that element didn't exist on the periodic table, and now it does. So there's things like that have come true. There was a biometric palm scanner that I think he said they used. I think this was at Los Alamos. I don't even think it was at Area 51. I think it was at Los Alamos. where it was like a biometric palm scanner that they had like back in the 80s that they'd used to uh, for the employees, like to clock in, I guess, or something. I don't know. But, people were like, back then when he was talking about this stuff, saying it was real, people were like, oh, he's full of it, blah, blah, blah. Now it's been proven that they did have it back then. Like it's a fact. No. So that's what makes him most credible to people, is that things he has said have come true and they haven't been able to disprove him. That's another thing. So he hasn't been disproven, which is something that really, uh, you can't say that about a lot of people, that do this, that say this kind of stuff. So that's interesting right there. I mean, his story is very interesting. And he recently told everything on the Joe Rogan Experience, and so it was a very good podcast, and I think everybody should probably go and check it out because he really like told everything that he's ever talked about basically on that show. I mean, it was very informative if you want to know about Bob Lazar's position, and his story. Basically, if you want to know his story, you can go check that out, and it was really cool. Honestly, I thought like it was just everything I had heard him say in other interviews. Basically, it's all in one right there. So that's why it was so good. So anyway, I do want to say, I'm not sure that Area 51 is the actual base. I'm thinking it may be a distraction, honestly, because it's so publicized now. They've admitted that it's real. I mean, they've confirmed it. So, and it's such, I mean, a public thing. Like, it's an iconic thing in subculture. So, you know, it's something that has been solidified, in our society. Area 51 exists, and it's the epicenter of a lot of conspiracy and, theories and things like that, that, are on that side of things, basically. And the thing is, what if they want it to be that way? They're just hiding it in plain sight. All right. I've always wondered this. What if, this is hypothetical, what if McCarran Airport in Las Vegas is actually the base? Okay. Think about this. McCarran Airport. And I've heard this as a theory before too. And I don't want to get into conspiracy or anything, but I think there's a high probability that this could be the case with some things. They're hiding like right in plain sight because, see, check this out. Okay, you have an airport. All right, one of the things that would stand out in a base like Area 51 is power usage. Okay, it would just be a massive drain on the grid. So what else uses and consumes a ton of power? An airport. Okay, especially an airport in a city like Las Vegas that already consumes massive amounts of energy. So what, you see what I'm getting at? They're kind of hiding right there on the grid. So that would take care of the power. What about, okay, there's radiation levels too at airports. That would take care of a lot of things that might put off radiation that would be in a place like that. Now there's subterranean levels to these airports, a lot of them. And especially this one, I think there's like 6 floors down, like 6 stories below is how far McCarran goes. maybe further. Who knows? They say 6. But, okay, you're talking about 6 below however many they've got at the airport already. So there's a lot that could be held there. I mean, there really is. You've got noises all the time because it's an airport. You have planes moving and taking off, landing, whatever, revving up the engines, whatever. You've got planes making noise all the time and people making noise all the time. It would be easy to cover up strange noises or, whatever. You can write it off. I mean, it's a masking technique. Like everything there could have like a dual purpose. It could be like, well, I won't get too much into that, but say like you want to hide like the upper echelon of government employees. Well, no one's going to suspect they're looking like a college kid, going home for spring break. You know, no one is going to suspect that they're like the family dad with his Hawaiian shirt on, ready to go on vacation. No one suspects that. So, who knows? Maybe they're doing that, which of course they would, because airports have to hire people and contract people. So, they would have to have civilians come in. But what if, like, the employees are dual purposed? They, everything is masked and mixed. They have the civilians come in, work alongside the government employees that work there. It's weird. You never know. It could be the case. And, I mean, it's just also like, the Denver International Airport, the DIA, man, that place. I mean, that place is spooky, straight up, in my opinion. If you look at it and you know anything about like the Illuminati symbolism and stuff, you will see that there is a lot of it in that place. And I don't think it's just a coincidence. I mean, it can't be. There's so much of it. It's like the murals that they have there, they're really well done. Pretty pieces of art. But what they depict is just insane, man. I mean, look at them. Look them up on the internet. You'll see what I'm saying. Also, you have like, okay, that horse out front. They have a name for it. I can't remember what they call it. Anyway, it's got a nickname, a crazy one. But it's like black horse, with red eyes that like light up red. I mean, freaking man, I don't want. If I were gonna go somewhere and I had my kid in tow or something, and I wouldn't want them looking at that. That's freaky, man. You see what I mean? And these murals are the same way. They'd have given me nightmares, man. When I was a kid, one of them would have for sure. You'll see which one I'm talking about if you go look them up. I mean, I can tell you right now. You guys have to excuse me. I'm kind of getting over a cold too. It's been kicking my butt for a couple weeks. That is also another reason I put this off for so long. Anyway, man, I do have a great audience. I want to take a second and say that because you guys are showing me support even when I haven't been doing this. I mean, it meant a lot to see that. And I mean, I actually gained subscribers. I didn't lose any. So that was a really good thing too. I didn't gain many because I, of course, wasn't putting out content. However, I did gain some and didn't lose any. So that was a great thing. I was like, well, I was on the right track, and I guess I still am. It's not too late, so I'm gonna. Nah, I don't know. I'm not gonna do anything like that, but I'm gonna keep doing this. So anyhow, I don't know. The airports are just weird, though. I mean, there's also at the Denver International Airport this time capsule that's like buried there, or it's built into it. And it was put there by the something like New Age Aviation Commission or something weird like that. Anyhow, it's some organization that doesn't exist. It's like a fictitious organization, and it has like Masonic symbolism on it. And I'm not one of those people that's like thinks anything of the old guys down the road at the Masons Lodge, chilling, talking about their wives or whatever, that kind of thing, whatever. I'm not one of those people who's all nutty about that, but it is kind of strange, And I know that certain levels of masonry, I'm not going to go into that, but, I know that these, the guys down, local dudes, really aren't what people are concerned with when they talk about Freemasonry's involvement in things. That being said, we'll leave the conspiracy stuff there and get back to this other stuff that has nothing along those lines. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's see. I always write notes too, and I rarely follow them, but sometimes they do help a little bit because I'll see something, but then I'll see something and I forgot to talk about it when I should have, and that's a problem too. So it's just all kinds of crazy with this all the time. When I sit down and do this and you got like ADD like I do, it can be hard sometimes, but I do the best I can for you guys. Anyway, okay, let's get back to this. One thing I think is interesting, though, the Denver International Airport. Okay, they built an airport like that with like 12 stories or something that go underground. I mean, this thing goes way down, way deep. And who knows what's down there? Seriously, no one's going that far down. I mean, unless you need to for something. That's way down, way further than they would need to be. So that, has raised suspicion also. If you look at the way the runways are laid out, people say, and it does look kind of like they're laid out like a swastika. That's crazy too. It does kind of resemble that when you see the, overview picture of it. Who knows? But it's just so much of this stuff in one place. And another thing that was crazy, okay, they started making fun of it, kind of like of all these conspiracy theories about it through an ad campaign that they did. They started putting up ads all over the airport, these big banner ads too. And I saw some, I want to say like on the internet, like I saw a thing about it somewhere. Maybe it was on the news, who knows? But anyway, talking about their new ad campaign and it was ads with like big old like head of a gray on it or something, and it would say something like, sorry, there's no reptilians, aliens, lizard people, blah, 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 whatever. Stuff like that. Behind these walls, all you're going to find are the hardworking employees of Denver International Airport. Stuff like that. And yeah, they had a bunch of stuff like that going on. It was weird. But they were basically just making fun of all the claims that people had made about the airport being associated with the elite and all that, and being part of the New World Order agenda. Who knows? Maybe it is. Who knows? Colorado is a unique state. Okay, it's the one state that is self-sustaining. Okay, what I mean by that is Colorado has, due to its elevation and climate, it has an endless supply of fresh water from the snow and the runoff and all that. Okay, so there you have all aspects of everything else. You have mountains, you have water, you have deserts, you have forests, you have all the geographic aspects of places. You have it all right there in this one state. with an endless supply of fresh water and plenty of wildlife. So you see what I'm saying? Like, what an auspicious place to put a big, huge ass airport. You know? So, I mean, it's all thought out, of course. I mean, I'd put it there if it were me and I was, putting some kind of secret base somewhere or something. I'd want it to be in a self sustaining place like that, of course. So, you know, that's what you got. I don't know, but it's weird. I mean, anyway, I'm going to get away from that subject now. We're going to go back to Bob Lazar because I want to talk about what he said about the UFOs. The UFOs that Bob Lazar went on board, he boarded one of the crafts, the one that had the reactor that he was trying to back engineer. And that's the reason he went on the craft, to get a look at how everything was placed. And he said that when he boarded the craft, everything was like an opaque kind of color. It was all kind of gloomy looking, like a gray type color, like dark, kind of dreary in there. And he said there were no right angles anywhere. He said it looked almost as if someone had like taken wax and just like melted everything into the floor. Like it just like formed into it. Like he said there were chairs just kind of like built in, like right there, it just kind of built into everything. There wasn't a right angle anywhere. And he said there were 3 chairs, small chairs too, and Bob said he's like 5'10", somewhere like that. And he had to kind of hunker down a little bit. So, it was made for whatever beings piloted this thing were smaller. There wasn't really any windshield, he said, except one panel would go transparent. Like, I guess when you touched it or something, it would turn transparent. And which is, kind of like the smart glass and stuff they have today. And he did say, that wasn't really that impressive because we have stuff like that we've developed. So they say. But anyway, no, like for real, what he did though with he said he got in there and he said there were like 3 levels of the craft, and he hung down through like a little manhole, and he said he looked at the reactors that were in there. Nothing was connected, he said, and nothing had wires going to anything else. Everything ran on specific placement. Like you placed something in a certain spot and it knew to work. Basically, is how this worked, is what he described it as. And anyway, it was really interesting hearing all this. But the UFO, I mean, that was just one of 9. And he said some of them were actually like archaeological finds. He was pretty sure he had heard him talking about that or something, how some of them were actually archaeological finds that, they were found like, who knows when. I don't know. It gets crazy though. This stuff does. Well, Bob actually saw one of the UFO tests. He watched it, he said, and he explains it on the podcast too. I'll give you a little rundown of it though. I mean, he said that, it starts hovering and there was kind of like something emitting like a bluish glow. He said that kind of looked like something that we'd have like from a rocket. And then he said that just was gone and it just kind of floated there. And he didn't see any of the advanced maneuvering then or anything. But they had figured out, how to turn it on and how to run it, basically, how to fly it, but they didn't understand it. And who knows if they do now? They might can even replicate it, but who knows if they understand it? That's one thing. And I mean, the technology they have that they keep from us is just unreal. I can promise you that. Even the technology we do have, like our smartphones and stuff, man. I mean, there's not many people who can fathom building one of those, like from scratch or just like from basic knowledge or something. I mean, that's almost futuristic kind of out of this world technology to a lot of people. I mean, it all depends on how you look at it, but there are a lot of people who would assume that to be high technology. So, you know, a lot of it's how you look at it, but a lot of it is that we take it for granted because we see it all the time and we don't realize how advanced it actually is, which a lot of the stuff I do believe is highly advanced that we have at our disposal now, and it's not being used properly. I do think there's something to that too. But anyhow, um, but Bob Lazar, he worked on this extraterrestrial technology at Area S4. Now, I'd already explained how he got caught. I mean, it was crazy though because he was already pretty much too well known to really go after. So the way he described it, they kind of went after people he knew, like friends and family and stuff, and they just kind of made their lives hell a little bit, like you know, doing stuff to them, like uh, they'd get like audited, and, just crap. And Bob, like they said, they erased his records, like his birth certificate's gone, something like that, and his school transcripts from MIT and wherever else he went are gone. Like he never went. It's crazy. They really messed him up, in a lot of ways. And he kind of shut his mouth a little bit, I think, after that. I mean, now his story's been out so long and so many people know it. It's not a secret whatsoever anymore, of course. And there's that new documentary that came out too, and I haven't even watched it. But I do think it's probably going to be pretty good. But right now we've got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, like especially like with the with the UFO stuff, like you got the Nimitz encounters that happened, which are just insane. And then you've got the UFO Beaverton, Utah UFO that they got, doing like 12,000 miles per hour past a camera. And so far, to my knowledge, still no one has been able to debunk that and prove it to be false. There's nobody's theory holds up. So it's still, I believe, thought of to be legitimate. I don't know, but I'll tell you this. Um, there are people who are going to go out to Rachel, Nevada, I think it is, where the Storm Area 51 event's going to be going on. There's going to be people going out there, bunches of them, I'm sure, because there's a lot of people. I probably would if I had the means and the time to spare. But, I really probably would like go out there and just see what it's about because this guy who looks like a character who started the whole thing, he said, he wouldn't mind it becoming some kind of annual thing, I think, or something. Who knows, is what he said. But I think he's wanting to be like some kind of Burning Man festival or something along those lines. So who knows? Maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be like the next big thing, But he's got, I think, bands or music people, rappers probably, truth be known. Uh, yeah, he's got them coming out there to do their thing. So, I mean, at least, there should be somebody there, I would imagine. But I think this town has like 56 people in it or something. It's not big. So you talk about a million people would just completely congest this place. Like nobody be going anywhere. So I doubt, I mean, even like, you know, 10,000 people or something be a lot. That'd be a lot to handle in that spot, but at least in the desert, there's more room out there than a lot of places. But I don't know. Anyway, there are always going to be some psychos though coming out, things like that. So, I mean, who knows what will really happen? There could be somebody that's actually dumb enough to do that, to storm Area 51. It could be a bunch of somebodies who are dumb enough to do that coming out to this thing. So we'll have to see. But I mean, there are people who have like broken through before. Like you had people, Art Bell, back when, God rest his soul, man. I really, really loved his show. Like, and the way he did it specifically, there was something about the way Art talked about this stuff, it was on a very calm level. And, he was enjoyable to hear. But there were people who would call in. Like, I remember long ago listening to it, and some guy calls in, and he's in his, like, he's flying in a Cessna, like 172 or something, some little single engine Cessna. And he's flying, and he's going to go and fly into Area 51 and demand they tell him the truth about the shit that goes on in there. So this guy like takes off, and he's like on the air with Art. He's on the phone with him, and he's talking to Art. He's like a veteran and all this and that and whatever. And Art's like, well, you probably shouldn't do this, but we're with you. Who knows? He was talking to him, and this guy suddenly starts saying, well, they were radioing in, telling him he was in restricted airspace and that he needed to land. And they were going to escort him down. So then he says something like, they were sending up F-16s or something, like F-14s maybe at the time, who knows. They were sending some jets up, and they were like ready to shoot him down if he did not comply. So from what I understand, the guy landed, and then the radio was cut or whatever. But that was weird. I can't remember whatever happened to that, if anything was ever heard or not. That was so long ago. But I do remember that, and you can find that, I'm sure, online. If you just type in Art Bell and Area 51 Cessna, that'd probably be the first thing that popped up. But anyway, there was also some weird stuff, like this one guy who was like called in. He was like freaked out, like scared, like saying all this weird stuff, telling Art about things they were doing, and spilling the beans, kind of, I guess. Said he had worked at Area 51, I guess, or something, and he escaped. And they were after him, and they found him, and he didn't have long, and blah blah blah. And then he calls back later or something like that, and uh he's like all joking around, saying the men in black are joking around with him, and they're like making fun of him and shit. I don't know. It was weird calls. But I do remember one, and I don't know if it was that one with the Cessna or what, but it may have been another one where someone called in, but I remember it was a weird call like that, like someone maybe infiltrating Area 51 again or something. But it could have been the one with the Cessna. for all I remember. But I remember Art's transmission was cut, like the satellite feed was terminated during the show or something. He was mad about it, and he couldn't explain it. I remember something was up with that. It was weird. But Art lived right there by Area 51. He broadcast coast to coast from Dreamland, from that area. So, I mean, it was nothing for him to see the black choppers flying over, Uh, he, I mean, he would, see that stuff living out there. And that's the thing. I mean, and it's not like he was hidden from anybody. I mean, everybody in the world knew who he was at one point. I do believe. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. He was very popular for someone who does this stuff, like talks about this kind of stuff. So, I mean, he was really, really, really good though. I always loved listening to his show, and I really miss the Art Bell days. I mean, I like George Norrie, okay. Not saying, anything bad about him, but Art was different. He was different than all the other ones. The way he talked to people was interesting. Anyway, I guess that's gonna do it for this one, guys. I think I'm running out of stuff to talk about. No, I mean I could probably find something else, but I'll stop it here. I don't even know how long this has been, but I want to thank everybody who's watched. It's kind of hard to get the first one out of the way, so that's really just what I'm doing with this one. But the next ones I'm hoping will be a little bit better, and I've got some ideas for my next show that I know what I'm going to do it on already. So I'll just leave it a surprise. It'll probably be a pretty good one though, so you guys are going to want to keep your eyes out for that. I'll put up some announcements on Facebook and Instagram and all that. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me at Paranormal RusHour. I'm going to be checking my stuff a lot more with this. And at Facebook, you can find me at Paranormal RusHour. I've got a page on there for my podcast. You can find me there, or you can find me Ryan Rush. There's a page for me there too, or Frosted Forest Sasquatch, my YouTube channel, other YouTube channel. You can find me on any of those pages on Facebook. So if you do happen to get on there and want to go check it out, give me a like. I appreciate everybody watching, and you guys really were the ones that motivated me to get back up here in the studio and start doing this again. So I want to thank you guys for that. You really help a brother out doing that. So I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll be back with you way sooner than later this time. So everybody be safe, and I'll see you guys real soon.